All right, so welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
This here is Conversations with the Crawleys, and we do lots of stuff. We do lots of conversations on this channel. This one is a new segment that we are introducing called Empty Nest Chronicles. Yay. Well, let me see if I can find our applause.
What's the applause? Come on now.
Yes, Empty Nest Chronicles. So the goal of this is, I don't know if y'all know this. All right, shut up. All right, I don't know if y'all know this, but we are empty nesters now. We have, well, we got a roommate.
We got a roommate.
Who's paying rent, who is our child.
Yes.
But we are technically empty nesters. But we, are having conversations about that and actually having conversations with some of our friends. And so this is a new segment that we will be doing from time to time. And so definitely make sure you are locked in. Make sure you are subscribed, hitting the like, requesting notifications. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
And sharing. And we'll see you in the comments. Consider becoming a member and checking out that merch store. So to help us with this conversation, we are bringing back, I don't know if you watched the previous interview that we did with them, but if you haven't, go back and watch it. We did an interview with this couple about their story called Engaged in Emergency, where they talked about how they were engaged to be married, months away from being married. And then there was a medical emergency that could have derailed everything and how they work through that. So now we brought them back because now we want to talk about empty nesters and adult parents, aging parents,
and adult children.
Adult children, yes. So we're going to bring them on. Welcome again to the conversation, David and Mary Berry.
Hey there, hey, what's up?
What's going on?
Life in the pursuit of happiness.
Yes, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That's going too heavy for me to watch more than once.
I'm telling you.
Did you guys watch Pursuit of Happiness?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. I can only do that one time.
Yeah.
Good.
There's some movies I can only do one time. That's one of them. There's some movies I get tricked into watching that I don't. You want to do the one time that
I have 12 Years a Slave.
Would you have watched it?
Yeah.
If your dad wanted to go see it? I don't think I would have gone to see it. The trailer was enough for me on 12 Years a Slave.
I was intrigued.
I'm being very serious.
I was intrigued to go see 12 Years a Slave, and I had read so many people's comments about it that I really wanted to go. My father was adamant, and I wanted to honor him in that way. So we went as a whole family, our young adults. We went and took him to see that, but that was a one and done for me.
I squirmed through.
I really, literally squirmed in my chair the whole time.
Yeah.
Tarsha knows I don't do slave movies.
I don't do slave movies. I
don't.
It was very challenging.
Did we even purchase that?
I didn't. And normally I really support Black films, and I buy them. I bought The Butler. I bought 42. I bought several.
The first scene in The Butler.
Yeah, that was.
After
rough.
that, it was, but
that was rough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And two of my brothers from other mothers will know that I am going to the grave never having seen The Color Purple. That is what my goal is. I will go to my grave never having seen Color Purple.
Yeah, I've
seen it.
I saw it, but
I saw it all the way back then when it first came out. It's not something
right?
I forget when it came out, but I haven't rewatched it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I watched it and instantly regretted it.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Instant regret. So
All right.
So we are, again, just for those that are coming on, and again,
guys,
if you're coming on, what's up, family? But make sure you're hitting that share button, hitting that subscribe button, hit the like, let the algorithm know that y'all are here enjoying this conversation. We wanted to have a conversation again about for some of us that some of the viewers of our channel, and then what we're actually going through, and for our guests is when you are the child, but your parent is aging, right? And in some respects, there are some times where that role begins to shift. So we wanted to talk about that, and a couple that has gone through and is going through that. And for ourselves, we are entering into that phase in some respects.
Yes.
And so we just wanted to have the conversation because we know some of y'all out there, y'all are probably going through it too. And if you haven't,
you will.
Wait a few years, you will.
If you like your parents. You know,
Amen.
That's a whole other topic.
May not have good relationships.
Even if you don't.
just being honest, you know, I'm thankful. Right. Yeah, I'm glad that my mom is saved and I'm saved. I don't think we would have thought if if neither one of us were believers, we probably wouldn't have the relationship we had today.
Praise the Lord.
And we're walking. We're walking.
Oh, it's just pretty much. So we'll start with you guys, and then we'll kind of intertwine with what's going on where we are here. Can if you want to start with if your parents are currently living, and let's talk. Maybe we'll start with those that one of your parents may not be alive, and kind of just kind of tell us, you know. I guess prior to that, was there any illness, or was it just short notice, and kind of how you had to work through those challenging times?
I'll start.
Okay.
Both of my parents are now deceased. They have both passed away. My mother passed away in January of 2010, and my father passed away in June of 2015. So I have been without my parents for several years now.
Gotcha.
Prior to their passing, they both were ill. And I'm saying that to say there was a period of time where I'm the eldest of three sisters. There are three of us. They had three girls. I have no brothers. It's just me, Adrian, and Gail. There's three of us. And prior to their passing away, each of them had their own bout with serious illness, which ultimately caused their demise. So it wasn't sudden. It's like the Lord gives you time to kind of prepare. You know, there's hope. I know with my mother, she had a surgery, a bypass surgery, and made it through the surgery. And so there's that hope, like, okay, thank you, Jesus. She made it through. And that was, I believe the surgery was probably like September of 2009.
Okay.
And then she passed in January of 2010. So you can see that was not even 6 months. So she, of course, you're in the hospital for a while. Then you go to what I consider the midpoint between the hospital and home, which is like a rehab. She was there for a while, working to just really rebuild her strength. You know, I remember this is when the Wii was really big, and she was doing things with the Wii, like bowling and all those things with the Wii to try to regain that strength. And because she had some other issues, she just couldn't regain that strength. She was also on dialysis. So that was, even when she was like feeling better, when she would go to dialysis, that would kind of wipe her out for a day or so. You know, she'd have to kind of regain everything after she would be dialyzed. I think I'm saying that correctly. But anyway.
Yeah. Gotcha. Now, through that time, you know, through her illness, did you and your sisters have like a plan? Was there a lot of communication going through this time?
Glad. Okay, so there was a lot of communication.
Okay.
My sister Adrian, who's 18 months younger than I am, is unmarried and doesn't have children. So she was definitely the go-to of the three daughters. If my parents needed anything, they always called her.
Okay.
My sister Gail is married with 3 children and lives out of state.
Okay.
So she came in town as often as she could, like she did what she could do.
Right.
There was a lot. I credit my father surviving those 5 years because of my sister Adrienne. I feel like she kept him alive. I really will forever say that. I'm so grateful. I don't, and let me say this, after my mother passed away, my sister Adrienne moved in with my dad. So she was up close and personal to see what was happening and how he was declining.
Okay.
And it would just kind of be a report. And then if she would go out of town, I know she would say things like, Miriam, check on dad. And I would always call like, Dad, blah, blah, blah. I'm fine, this and that. And then finally, as time would move on throughout those 5 years, she would say, no, Miriam, you got to go over there. You got to look at daddy. Like you got to put your eyes on him. And I just didn't understand because I was, into what was happening in my life, with my husband and, 3 offspring.
Yeah.
So this is what and you all could tell me your experience, but this is what I know to be true. It doesn't matter how many children a person has. I feel like when it gets to taking care of a parent, it always falls on one.
Yeah. And I kind of agree.
You all have heard that or have experienced, but I feel like people will chip in, but there's always a main offspring that's really the go-to. This has been my experience in kind of seeing it and then gone through it.
Yeah, I want to kind of tend to agree from my perspective. I have one other sibling. She is, me and my sister are out of state, and my dad lives in Washington, D.C. But she tends to go see him more often than I do. And she kind of picks up the slack because she's a little bit closer and she drives. So she'll go,
up the coast
and drive up there and go see him. And just recently she was kind of sharing with me about, his life insurance. And now that he's getting older, it's about to go up, and us splitting the cost of that. And then I was kind of sharing her with my experience with Kevin's mom, because she lives in the same city as us, kind of how she's been very proactive on planning her death and planning everything and letting us know. She's been really communicating.
That's Sister Crawley. Love her. Yes.
And the part of that came from her watching her mom, watching, Big Nana, my grandmother, watching how that played out. And even how one of her sisters, how that played out. She's like, I don't want you all to go through some of the mistakes that we saw and what have you. So she's like, here's your safety deposit box. Here's your safe. Here's the key to that. Here's the book. So we've had probably 2 or 3 meetings recently over the past year or so. Of this is what my things look like. So, and my brother lives in the same house as her. So he's there for like a lot of the day-to-day. If she's, those things. And then I'm there for the technical stuff. So whenever there's something with computer or whatever, she's reaching out to me for that. So, but we do, we both kind of know where she's at.
But the other one tend to be closer. They would know the more, what's going on.
Yeah, there's more. So, and I feel like it's okay. And I'm speaking because I'm in both of my parents. I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest. But I wasn't that one. My sister Adrienne was. And I remember when my father, after my mom had passed, when my father was really declining, Dave and I went to see him, and he was like it was kind of like, I'm really happy to see you, Miriam, but where's Adrienne? Kind of like that. Right? I mean, like, I was like a good consolation. And then no disrespect to me.
No.
But they had grown, just a cut. Adrienne handled things. Adrienne was like the power of attorney, for medical decisions. She was all of the things. But she herself was going through some medical challenges. She had a surgery, and I'm like, Daddy, Adrienne, I was like, listen, Daddy, Adrienne had a surgery, so she's going to be down for a few weeks. David and I will be, we're coming to see about
we come in and take up the slack. Right. It's going to be okay. Trust me, I can still Help.
Right. I know I'm not her, but you know,
Right.
so honestly, obviously I know that this conversation is not necessarily about siblings. Perhaps you'll have another conversation about siblings where we can really kind of dig deep into that thing. But I want to say, because you never know who watches what, I just want to say for public record that I have nothing but gratitude for my sisters. Both of them are younger than I. I have nothing but gratitude, honestly. So my father had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma around the liver, cancer, and he was diagnosed right around Thanksgiving of 2014, and he passed away in June of 2015. He went through 3 rounds of chemo, and he couldn't sustain it. So I knew when the oncologist said your dad can't take the chemo, then we knew, okay, well, this is just going to be like a matter of time. But I want to say this. My mother had the opportunity, and my father. I remember my mother was really sick. Adrian and I went to see about her, and the nurse is like, you know, you really have some wonderful daughters. Like, we were very, you know, she was like, aren't they a blessing? Aren't they wonderful? Something like that. I remember hearing my mom. And my father, I took him to one of his chemo. This is while he was still doing the chemo. And he said, I'm so thankful that I had daughters. And I said, why do you say that, Daddy? And he said, because girls, they take care of you. You know, sons, they get grown and they go off and they live a life. But daughters, they stay here. I'm so grateful for you and your sisters. And thank you for being here for me. Thank you for taking care of me. So I remember little things like that. You know, like even when he was at home, you know, incontinence and all these things, like the things. So I've been through all of that. You know, I remember my father was so sick. My sister Gail was in town and she called, if you love us at all, you will hurry up and get over here, like that. Like, I'm on my way. Remember that?
Right.
I remember saying to David, babe, I gotta go. Like she said, if you love us at all, please. I got over it was just, but I remember one of those times, and my father said, thank you so much. He kept thanking me, like, thank you so much, Miriam. I said, Daddy, you're my father, you're my dad, of course. He said, and I'm so proud to be your father. Like that kind of stuff. I still get choked up thinking about it. Like we had those moments. Like a week before he passed away, he said, I'm sorry, your mother and I wanted to leave you all more, but we just didn't know. Like, I didn't know I should have increased my life insurance as my life changed.
Wow.
You know, he had a policy that he got when he was 21. He didn't know that he should have increased his insurance as he got a wife and had 3 daughters. This is part of the reason why Dave and I are in life insurance right now, just because I educate people about, you know, the different types of, you know, just a whole lot of things. But I remember the love that was there. I remember my father was so heartbroken when my mom, I think he would have checked out sooner. Honestly, it's just my sister Adrian's like, but Daddy, look, you have us, you have grandchildren, you know, like trying to remind him, like, you still have people, you know, because my mother was the love of his life. And, you know, people, I don't even think it's jokingly, but you hear the expression that people die of a broken heart. And I promise you, my father's heart was broken. When my mom passed away, part of him passed away too. He was never the same. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
He was never the same. He was never the same.
Because I'm assuming they were married over what? 40?
Oh yeah. So my parents got married August 18th, 1962. And she passed away in January of 2010. So they were coming up on 48 years of marriage.
Okay. Yeah. And then David, if you could share with us your experience.
So, interesting. My experiences, I don't know if we have enough time because a lot of my experiences intertwine with Miriam because we started dating so young. And I wasn't one of those dudes who are like, oh, I don't want to be around your parents because they're tripping.
Your parents.
I'm talking
about your experience with your parents.
With your parents.
Well, Yeah, what I'm expressing is though that for me there was because there was a different dynamic in my home.
Right.
I wanted to be exposed to a different dynamic growing up, and I think for me, my dad passed in 1999. Mom's still alive.
Praise the Lord.
But I just remember before my dad's passing, he was one of 8.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I would say beginning maybe about 5 years before he passed, I started losing aunts and uncles on his side of the family, primarily all from some type of complication from heart disease,
cardiovascular.
Some type of cardiovascular event. And as they were passing, I remember my father, probably 3 years into this, having to go in for bypass surgery. So in my mind, I'm like, oh Lord, this is, I'm seeing a trend here. But my father, born and raised in Grenada, Mississippi, Korean War veteran era person, nicest man you ever want to meet, but just as stubborn as they come in terms of just wanting to be who he was.
Okay.
So, you know, for him, his physical ailment, which was just primarily his heart, he refused to let that slow him down. The last time I saw him alive, actually, Kevin, was at annual conference. Man, should have been at home.
Amy.
Yep. I'm telling you, it's just a stubborn dude. He should have been home chilling, but he had to be there to support his pastor. The interesting thing about it is that his physical frame, you could tell he was not well. I mean, not the not the same guy who will walk up to you, shake your hand, and almost crush it, when he shook your hand, but the spirit within him had not changed.
Amen.
The day he passed away, again, he should have been at home resting. My father is an avid gardener. So he actually went to see a couple of people who wanted some things planted in their garden, help them out with the garden. Came home.
Told your mom.
Told my mom that he was going to take a bath and lie down.
And there was something with some pictures. Remember, he said he had just gotten some pictures developed. And told
So, like, if my father lived in the Facebook era, it was just not. He was friends with everybody.
Your dad, if I remember correctly, he took a lot of photos, so he'd be like an Instagram influencer.
Absolutely.
He took a lot of photos and carried a lot of photos around with him. So, so he showed mom pictures, took his bath, got in the bed, and that was it.
Wow. Now, during this time, did you find it more challenging to tell your parents to slow down, or when you saw their health declining, trying to give them advice, how was those challenges? And did you just seem to say, like, okay, they're grown, there's just nothing I can do to get them to slow down and to listen to me?
I don't know. I don't think I ever felt like I needed to have that type of intervention with them.
Okay.
And it's probably because there's a lot of that in me. And I felt like I don't know. See, I'm the youngest of 3. She's the oldest of 3. And typically the youngest of 3, at least in my experience, this could be totally off base, but what I experienced is that the youngest of 3, nobody cares what you think anyway. So, and then of all our cousins, I'm like, I have a cousin that passed who's a little bit younger than me, about 5 or 6 years ago. Of all of our cousins, like 25 to 26 of us, I'm still on the younger end. So even when we were in extended family situations, it was kind of like, that guy. So I just never, I think for And here's the other thing. I think with both of my parents, like when my dad passed away, the one thing I did wish would have happened for them is that they had spent more quality time together. Because my mom, to this day, even at approaching 86, she'll be 87 next year. I got that right?
She's 86.
Yeah, so she's like constantly on the go.
At 86, she is constantly on the go.
As much as she can be. But I think, around that time, coming into 99 and 2000, I think she had finally kind of figured out that, well, let me back up and say this. My mom, for several years, pastored a church. And so, what comes along with pastoring in terms of, being in the thick of life with people or doing life with people.
Right.
And you have to really be disciplined in making sure that the time that you're sowing into other families does not steal the quality time in your primary relationships with your spouse. And she was still trying to figure out how to balance that thing out. And by the time I think she really committed to being disciplined in that area, my father's health began to fail. Then he passed away.
Okay.
So I think for me, one of the things I would say that I was always kind of, asking questions about is, how you guys get along? What are you doing? What time did you take for just the two of you?
Now, in those discussions, when you are seeing they're getting older, did you guys initiate as a family about life insurance or asking any questions to them like, hey guys, you are getting older, any preparation that you as siblings got together at any point without your parents initiating those conversations with you?
For I want to say that's kind of a yes and no question. I know that my mom and I did have when I first got involved in the insurance industry, this is before I got involved in education, we would have discussions about long-term care insurance. Okay. And she actually was working with an individual who was helping that with her. And I want to say, man, that was perhaps in my mid 20s.
Okay.
Or so, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Never had that conversation though with my dad, and I'm not quite sure, what preparations they were making on his behalf.
Gotcha.
And now, as siblings, no, we never talked about that.
Okay.
There was. I'm gonna be honest. Can I be blunt? It was too much other stuff going on.
Gotcha.
It's true, right? Normally we don't think about that until like after our kids are grown, and then we're starting thinking like our parents are calling us more often for things that typically they do on their own, right? Or there was always known to us as like they were the parents, so they were always gone and doing things, and now we have to think of it in a different way. That now that they're older, like maybe I do need to call more often, and check up on them because they're staying at home. Or I know Kevin's mom, she's decided that she doesn't want to drive as much, and so those things that sometimes we're just not considering because like they've always been your parents, right? And they've always been independent on their own, and so now having to even think about it and say like, I do need to be considering like long-term care because right now with the economy and different things going on, having additional any type of insurance to kind of help would be beneficial for those that are remaining, or your dad, or if someone's still alive and then they're still have to take care of someone. I know one time me and my mom was talking about it, and sometimes as our parents are believers in Christ and everything, well, I'm gonna be raptured before we're gonna need life insurance. I said, I hope you are, because it's expensive to bury you.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're not going to take on that thing, don't leave that burden.
Amen. That's it right there. Don't leave a burden. That's it.
Right?
That's it.
If you love us, you don't want to leave that burden
That's
for
what we
us.
say.
Right.
That's what we say to our clients. Like, don't leave a burden on the people you love the most.
We recently helped a client who is in that type of situation now with the parent, and the cost of the monthly cost of the facility that the parent is staying in is $7,000.
Ooh.
And the child is paying for this, or are they going through their assets right now? Or
they're going through assets right now. So if you're familiar with the way our government works with Medicare and Medicaid, you can't qualify for those benefits until you spend down your
everything.
entire estate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you don't have a plan in place, prior to that, it's an expensive and difficult journey. In addition to dealing with all the emotional and emotional things that go along with an extended illness. So, it's something that we never like to talk about because, it just makes us, for some of us, it makes us feel sad, anxious. There are a lot of emotions that you really have to be real with. But the fact of the matter is that unless you, take a deep breath and begin to plan for these things, I mean, yes, we would love for the rapture to come.
Amen.
I was going to say if we saw the abomination that makes desolate in the holy place, but that puts us in a really weird time frame. So here's another like perfectly blunt. I'm a pre-trib rapture person. So, if I'm looking at the abomination that brings desolation in the holy place, and number one, that means there's a Jewish temple standing somewhere, and number two, that means there's a problem. But anyway, so that's my attempt to bring a little humor, a little lightness to the situation.
So just give us, because we're going to transition, because I know our time in and talk about adult children. Could you give off the top of your head, like maybe, I guess, 4 or 3 tips children should be thinking now for aging parents when it comes to having some type of plan or some type of insurance in place for an aging parent? Some kind of strategy there for them, even if they just can at least start having, that conversation with the parent who may be thinking, well, y'all be fine, sell the house,
because we all know it's inevitable, right?
Absolutely.
If the Lord tarries is coming,
amen,
it's inevitable.
Amen.
So there's nothing that should catch us off guard. Now, the timing may catch us off guard, but the outcome should never catch us off guard.
Absolutely. That's so well said.
I would start with this. I think there needs to be a discussion where you ask your parents what they want. What is it you desire? How when we consider this, what would you consider a dignified and appropriate way to handle these situations for you? And I think from there you then begin to have to reverse engineer how to make that happen.
Okay.
The second thing, and I'll let you get the other. There's 4. I'll let you get the last 2. I might say this one. You might be thinking of this. I think that as siblings, you need to be prepared to work together to cover those costs, or at least to offset those costs. Because especially if you're talking about plans and it's late in the game, because of, in the insurance industry, you buy insurance with your age and your health.
Correct.
Many people think you buy it with money. No, it's age and health.
You have to qualify for it.
Yeah, you have to qualify for it. So if you're late in that game, you just need to be prepared, financially to underwrite a portion or most of it. So that was two.
Okay, so building on what he just said, as a licensed broker now, licensed life insurance agent and broker, I will say this: there are ways, where you can, as siblings, proactively get a plan together for your parent. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, even though we're adults now, your parents always see you as their kids, and they don't necessarily want to divulge certain things.
Gotcha.
There's still that line of demarcation that they will not
I'm your
allow.
mama.
I'm still your, like I'm still that kind of thing. So to kind of build on what David said, I think there has to be proactive thinking on those siblings to say, you know what, here's the real deal. And I'm speaking from a very real place. Miriam is speaking from a real place right here, because I've been in the funeral home on 2 occasions where the funeral directors and all the staff is very patient. They're very gentle. They're very sympathetic, all the things. But at the bottom line comes the one question: so sorry for your loss. Woo, 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 woo. Was there an insurance policy? Because this is going to cost you. See, this is So Tarsha already hit on something. What happens, and I don't want to belabor this. I just think in our community, there's some mindset that life insurance equals death. And if you're talking to me about this, somehow you're trying to speed me along to no, it's quite the opposite, right? It's when you love someone, really truly love them, you don't want them to be broke on top of being brokenhearted.
That's good. That's good. We'll have to put that on a take. That's good.
Because you're going to be gone, and your bills, your mortgage, your car, whatever else is still going to be here. And who is it that's going to take care of it? See,
that's true.
If you really love these people, you would put something in place, or you would at least consent to them putting something in place on your behalf. And I talk to people about this. If something happens to your mother or father, who is the family going to look to? And they say me. Okay, then you need to get something in place, because the average funeral, if people choose to do that, is still going to be about 20 grand. Now I'm saying if, because nowadays the saints and the ain'ts alike are opting for cremation because it's cheaper, because it is cost effective. Because the mindset is my soul is with Jesus, so my body can whatever, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm in a way I'm thinking, you know what? I have this life insurance policy. I would much rather you use this money to do, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, where my mother was like, I want to be buried. My father told us, I don't want to be a burden. Cremate me. So I've been through all of the things. So that's one thing that I would say. Another thing, I agree with David. Just have a dignity. I love you so much. I want to know your wishes. Just have that conversation. I know it could be 50 years from now, but I want to honor you. And I want to hear exactly what you want. What you don't want. Like that. That's so important. That's what I would say.
That's good.
That's what I would say. And just cherish your parents. I would say to anyone out there whose parents are still alive, cherish them. I know sometimes it might be burdensome. It might be kind of throwing a monkey wrench into your plans, because this is not how things used to be. But get accustomed to this phrase, the new normal. Was normal. Now this is the new normal.
Gotcha.
With that said, also the new normal of You are my child.
You are my child.
Right now, switching gears now, from aging parents to grown children.
Or growing.
Or growing
Do
children.
we still call them growing? Are they still growing? Mentally, maybe.
Yes.
Maturing.
Yeah, the frontal lobe don't kick in till the mid-20s. So
the frontal lobe is fully developed in the mid-20s.
It's usually faster for girls than it is for guys. Yeah.
So here's what I want to say. In today's economy, it's so interesting. You would think that for all the advancements that we've made, there would be that financial advancement, and it's not necessarily the case. So there's several schools of thought out there. I will say I'm of the thought that I want to be supportive. I don't want to, see you totally like fall on your face. I don't want to see you like, this is what I don't want. I don't want you to quote unquote get out there, have your own place, this and this, and then have to come back.
Right.
Let's work on some things while you're here so that you can sustain it and be out there, because it's nothing worse to me than having to swallow your pride or whatever and have to come back to mom and dad, because as we've already established with our own parents, right? Yes, you're an adult, but we're still mom and dad, and we still have a way of thinking and doing things that might cramp your style, that might cramp your style. So
yeah. Because
go ahead.
There is that mindset that I know up until our children got to that age. It was like 18 and one day.
Yeah. You're out. Yeah. But that quickly changes. Yeah.
In reality, especially, I mean, I don't know what rent prices are where you guys are, but it's like $2,000 for a one bedroom.
Yeah, it could average now in the Phoenix area between 1,800.
And I'm not talking about a decked out one bedroom.
Yeah. No, you're talking about a regular.
I'm telling
you, where you sneeze and you gotta wipe your walls because you've done sneezed all over the wall.
Right.
Oh my.
Right.
You can open the door and flush the toilet at the same time.
It was built the year we were born.
Right.
Like those places.
And the air conditioning is a little Karen sitting in the walls blowing.
Oh my God. That's so fun. Yeah.
And so it's just like you're trying to help, right? You tell your child to go to college. That'll get you the good job. That'll get you the advancement so that you could be on your own and, handling your bills. And, for our daughter, especially, she decided to go out of state to go to school, and she's trying to decide on life. And we call it coaching because we felt like we're no longer parents telling you what to do.
Right.
But now we're just trying to coach you and say, how's it going? And okay, what is your decision? Because at the end of the day, you have to make the final decision,
That's so well said.
And it's so for you guys, because I know your kids are older, none of them are married, if I understood correctly, and no children as of yet. I've been seeing a lot of that too, which was very surprising, is that there are a lot of adult parents in the age range of late 40s, early 50s, and currently their kids are not married or have children.
That's right.
And I don't know.
Oh my goodness. This is a whole other conversation. I remember Matt talking about that. Like, people are actually making an active choice to not marry and to not have children. And that, anyway, that's another.
Well, I find it interesting, right? Because, were you?
No, I was going to let David.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, David.
So what I was going to say, I think for me, the common thread in both points of discussion that we're having here is intentionality. And there's important with your adult children to have a plan in place, a transitional plan in place where you actually go through, okay, what do we want this to look like? What's the time frame? And just helping them, walk through this. A friend of ours, Kevin knows this guy. I'll say his name because I love the guy. He's a fraternity brother. Anderson Edwards told me something, I want to say maybe about 8 or 10 years ago, that kind of helps me now and really took a lot of pressure off me then. But what he said to me was, at about 45, you have almost as many years making decisions from an adult framework as you had at 25 making decisions from a kid's framework. And so now that you have these reps, now that you can freely employ delayed gratification. You've bumped your head enough times by making silly decisions that now you're like, okay, I don't need to do that. I don't have to have that problem anymore.
Yeah.
With a lot of our, 18 in one day, 21, 25, they still are making decisions primarily from their schema or their recollection of what it meant to make that decision at 16, which is, I need this right now. It's going to happen right now. And if it's not happening right now, you're standing in my way.
That's good.
We have to, I think the thing Miriam led with is so important. Our economy and the situations in which our economy are in right now, everything has doubled and tripled in price.
Yeah.
I went to University of Illinois, Chicago, which is a public institution. Yes, a public institution. When I was there, even if you stayed on campus, you might be out 20,000, 18 to 20, 23,000 a year. That same school, public institution, if you're staying on campus here in Chicago, it's going to take you about 40 to 43 to get through.
Wow. Today.
Yeah. So if you're taking a kid from freshman all the way through graduation and you've laid out close to, say 140, 150,000, and you've had to do part of that with loans, so you have the interest on top of that. And then the job says, okay, come work for us. We'll give you 40,000 a year.
That part.
And the day after you get your diploma, you got Sally Mae or Freddie Mac or whoever.
Talk about it.
You said diploma. I call it a receipt now.
Come on.
Right.
That's part.
Listen, we're both college educated people. We're not bashing college.
No.
The return on investment is not what it was.
Right.
Even when I was a student. Not to mention, it made sense in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah.
Because when you got out, typically that the income would be enough, and even then, if you did work study and maybe waited tables in the evening, you could come out of college or undergraduate school at least liquid, meaning you don't owe anybody.
Right.
Not the case anymore.
It is. So here's the other thing I want to say before, like David said, we went to college. I actually have a couple of master's degrees. All right. Because that was what was taught, especially as people of color. The way to success was through education. And that's the mindset that I went into parenting with. But I will say this.
Say it the way we were taught, though. If you want to be taken seriously as a Black person in this country,
you
need a degree.
You need a degree. But here's the other thing. This is the reality. Right now in 2023, over 80% of college graduates do not find employment in their major. And so now it's big business and it's just adding to the debt.
Yep.
So we, for the last 7 years at least, have had a shift in our thinking. And it's kind of like, unless you're going to be a surgeon
or an engineer
or whatever that needs a special type of, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing spending? So our youngest son is the only one of our children who's never even gone to college because he's seen so much. He's like, I don't want, this is what he said. I don't want any debt. Like,
wow,
that's good.
He's like, I don't want the debt. So I'm kind of like, what do you want to do? I don't know, Mom, but I don't want debt. So whatever we're going to do is not going to involve debt. And I can't fault him.
No, not at all. Because it's not worth it.
The youngest. He will be.
And how old is he?
He'll be 23 this month. At the end of this month, he'll be 23. So our children.
17 days.
Our children are 30. Our daughter just made 30 last August.
Okay.
Almost 27. Noah's 26. And then Nicholas will be 23. And Noel and Noah both have been to college. They did not finish, but they've been. Noel did 4 years. Noah did 3.5. And it's because of financial things. Like we had to just, we gotta figure out a way to pay whatever. So I know for a fact our older son is the one. He's like, he really wants to finish, and I believe that he will. Noel could care less.
Now, do you have any children that live at home?
Yes. They're all at home.
Okay.
Oh, so all three
of them are at home. And I would say primarily it's only for financial reasons. Yeah. It's only for financial reasons.
And they like her. They don't necessarily like me.
Okay, so what is the dynamics in your home? Because did they ever go away to college? Have you ever had a moment where you did not have kids in your house?
For little pockets. Noel stayed local, but she lived downtown for a couple of years.
Okay.
Noah lived on campus. Okay. So we've had moments where we had
just Nicholas
one at home.
Okay.
We've had moments where we just had one, but we've never had moments where it was just me and David. No.
Okay.
And that's okay. Because it's okay.
Hold on, David said. Well, obviously it has to be, right? Because
it's okay.
Is economically, right?
Economically, it's okay. But here, I agree with what my husband said in terms of let's get the plan. See, I'm at peace knowing there's a plan in place, and then we have these regular check-ins, like how's it going with the plan? Do we need to revisit and revamp the plan? But there has to be a plan like this because they have no desire to live with us. They have no desire to live with us at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
I just want y'all to know this. Not like I don't want to go. No. They have no desire to live. Now, I feel like Noelle. I feel like she might want to live alone. I feel like Noah probably would want to live with one of them. Like he would. I feel like he would want to live with a sibling. Yeah. The dynamic. I'm just saying the dynamic there.
So we refer to our children as numbers 1, 2, and 3. So 1 and 3, Nicholas did not think I took him seriously, but he's very much into.
He's a wonderful.
What's the
gifted
form of
anime?
He's
a
in
very
anime.
Gifted artist. It's a God-given. It's a God-given gift. He draws like you would. Oh my gosh! And he writes prolifically. So
Nicholas and I have had conversations about him being mentored by some by artists and writers in Japan.
That's cool.
I think he's the
one that would go. He would totally go overseas.
Okay.
And maybe not come home.
He would come back.
Yeah,
but if the opportunity presented itself, he would be that one.
Yeah, Noel would go too.
Okay.
Noel will go too.
Noel will go away too.
Yeah.
No, Nick will stay close.
So how do they pay a portion, help with the mortgage and the bills? How does that work in your house?
They help with all of the major, They definitely pay a portion of cell phone, cable,
insurances.
They pay their own insurance.
They pay a lot of stuff.
They pay a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Because in our house,
they have their own life insurance because that's what they have their own life insurance that they pay for. They have they pay for a lot of stuff.
Disability, health insurance.
They have health insurance, disability insurance, life insurance. They have those things. We, like I heard you say that your roommate, pays you guys a certain amount of rent. We don't really.
Oh, you don't subscribe to that? They don't pay a certain
amount? I think that I do. It's just that their employment is such. I think we're just fair. Let me put it like that.
Okay. When you say fair, you mean like fair, like
I feel I'm fair in that I know how much their insurance is. I know how much this Verizon bill is. I know, and they're given this. You have to live, if that makes sense.
We all gotta live, right?
Yeah.
Well,
so it's not like, okay, and on top of that, here, give me another $500. Like
okay. So if I'm hearing you right, you're not trying to tax them, right? You're not trying to overburden them. If I'm hearing you correct. Right. Now, in our household,
go ahead.
Okay, so in our household, our running joke right now is that we have a roommate because we don't see him as often either. With him being a car salesman, he works 10 hours. He works 10-hour days, so it's like night passing in the ship. We barely see him.
We hear him come in.
We hear him come in.
Guards goes up, guards goes down.
And then every once in a while we get a chance to talk to him, or when he has a day off, we'll say, hey, let's do lunch or something. Let's catch up with you.
Right.
Because we do check-ins too. Like, okay, since you're not going back to school, he did 1 year, was playing football, all of it went downhill. And so we're like,
COVID messed a lot.
Yeah, COVID messed a lot of stuff.
That's another thing, Nicholas. That's another thing. Yep.
And so he was like, I don't want to go back. And we were like, okay, well, you're going to go to school here because you're in the stage where we'll pay for, a portion of the school where we can. Yeah. And so he decided, no. I said, okay, so then you're working full time. Because if you're in a school, you're working.
Then you're adulting for real.
You're adulting for real.
That's
so what we
get a job. Now you got
to be working. You ain't gonna be sitting in my house and I'm working and I'm staying at home and I see you coming up and down the stairs, like grabbing Kool-Aid,
getting tattoos,
right?
And just playing Xbox and
PlayStation.
No,
I would have a fit. So anyway, then that's when we said, okay, we're gonna give you a month because here is all the household bills.
Right.
We showed them this is how much we pay in mortgage. This is how much we pay for the HOA. This is how much we pay for the water and the electric bill. And so those are the things that we decided that we were going to split.
Yeah.
So we communally, I have a third, even though we're one, I count as a third, Kevin counts as a third, and he counts as a third. Now we didn't do the internet because we don't have cable. We use internet TV. So we didn't think about the internet, okay, we give that.
We have internet. Yes, we have to have internet. Yeah, we do have internet.
Yeah. And then
they pay for that.
And then the phone, we were just like, but the main thing is that these are the things you would pay on your own. Right. If you lived on your own, you would have to pay this. And so we don't ask him how much he get paid. We can kind of probably average, because he's a car salesman.
And it goes up and down.
It could vary, right?
We don't ask. We don't know how much our kids make either. We don't ask them.
So how do you know you ain't taxed? They might be getting off on your scratch.
I think what we did, how we approached it was there were several things that there were several things that we all five of us use, like the phone, like the internet.
And
we just split that up. And I just felt I don't know how Miriam felt. She obviously agreed with it, but I don't even remember asking her. I just felt that especially with their life insurance policies, they're structured in such a way that they're accumulating cash value. Now, I have not had this talk with him. After having this discussion, I probably should have this talk with him. I think Noel kind of knows. I don't think the guys know.
Okay.
But because they're accumulating a cash savings, they've got a nice little chunk of money that's being put aside. And so, you know, at some point in the future, they'll be able to tap into those reserves if need be. But I just felt it was important for them to establish that and keep that established on their own.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that was to me, them being able to keep their life insurance up, that's very important to us because we're not paying. So we did have that conversation, Tarsha, like, look, this is what this costs. I'm not paying it. If you want blah blah blah, I'm not paying that. I'm not paying that, and I'm not paying that. So
yeah, because I know for us, we have just a basic life insurance for the kids. If they pass, it will take care of just their death benefits. Now, as Creasy getting older and she's accumulating more things, that is something that we do need to reconsider. That I didn't think about.
And with Caleb too, since he's
of age. But we do with what he does give to us. And he asked of this, and this is what we were thinking, and we weren't going to tell him. But he asked, he said, can I take half of what I'm giving you and you put in the savings for me? So in 2 to 3 years, I want to have enough saved so I could use that to move out. And we've been
policies, there policies that he could do. I'll say this really quickly. We have a 25-year-old client that lives in California, and he lives at home with his parents. And he said he was able to save a couple thousand a month. And I said, okay, well, why don't we take 500 of the 2,000 and start this insurance policy for you? So he's building cash in there. And that's something that we can offline, we can talk to you all about. Your kids can get those kind of policies because they're young.
Right. And then because he wants
to do that.
Right. And because what we've been encouraging him to do is to
think about getting a condo or getting some property. Property. He's not paying rent to somebody else. He can have his own place, and especially here in Phoenix right now, you actually save money by owning versus
renting. Yeah. And so we've been trying to educate him on that. I was like, even if you get a condo where you need to fix it up, put a little work into it, and then you'll have that, you'll own it. You don't have any outside maintenance at all. But then when you decide maybe you want to get married and it gets too small or whatever, then you can either have that as your own rental property, or you can do an Airbnb or whatever, but you still own something. Because I think a lot of times with our parents, it was more like it's time for you to get out because age-wise, you're grown.
Right.
But they weren't thinking about the maturity. They weren't thinking about, okay, you know, maybe I want to set up for, you know, my next being a college student and everything. Even we got married, and when we were deciding to move to Maryland, we had to stay with our parents for a couple of months until we could find our own place and get established and find jobs. So it's never that your kids are not going to need you, but I think
no.
Balancing.
And I want to say this, because like I said, this is the World Wide Web. There have been some times I'm thanking God for our offspring because we had some financial needs and they had the money, and I'm grateful. And it was like, you know what, Mom and Dad, I got that couple of thousand, so and so. Here it is. So there have been some times in our cohabiting, you know, like living together, doing life together with these adults. That we're like, guys, this, and they were like, okay, I could put 500, I could put 400 on it. I could do so and so. So I don't want to paint this picture that, you know, Miriam and David's kids are just like slothful, blah blah blah. No.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for everything.
But here's the thing. Also, I think
I'm grateful, and I'll say, you know what? Give me this now. I got you. As soon as so and so, I'm gonna pay you back. Okay, Mom. You know, like that. Just like adult. I mean, like they're adults, so it's like
Right.
Pick this up for me. I got you tomorrow. I'm gonna send you so and so. I'm gonna Zelle you. Yes, let's go because I need you to Zelle me. You know,
right. Okay.
I think one thing we have to pay attention to also is the cultural aspect, because in our community, the thought is once you get a certain age, you're on your own. But there are other communities that they will come over to the country, they will come and they will all live together, buy a business, all contribute to that business, all work to that business, and then they're all paying communally so that then when that business is self-sustained, they can now move on and the next person, the next oldest gets a business. And so we have to, even with our children, we have to develop that mindset that says we're going to build something to get it, however it works, but we build it together so that everybody, you don't have to worry about struggling. Or now, if you do things that violate the house, because we have some rules, right? There's some things you just don't do in our house.
Exactly.
Yes, you are an adult.
Yes.
You have the legal right to do these things. But in this household, that don't work.
Right.
And if you want to do those things, that's your cue to find a place where you can do those things.
Yeah, because we had to have a conversation with our son, and he had violated a rule. And I told him, I said, guess what? I could beat you. But
all 6'7", 385 pounds, offensive.
That's a big boy.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like,
how tall? 6'7".
Yeah. He ain't. Yeah.
That's a big boy.
When I say COVID messed things up, COVID messed things up.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So,
oh my God, yes.
But at the same time, I had to tell him, I said, look, our relationship has changed. I need you to respect because I'm your mother, and I shouldn't have to punish you, even though he was still in that mindset, because he's like, I'm the child, you're the parent, and I violated whatever punishment you're going to give me. I was like, dude, you're 20 years old. I can't take away your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Your car salesman. You need your phone. All those.
You bought your car. I can't take your car.
I can't take your car. I mean, that's your car payment. You're on the title only. It's not my car. I said, so if you're being disrespectful, so I'm communicating so you can understand. I can't yell and scream and all this stuff. I can't send you to your room. I was like, we need you to be respectful for our home. I said, because I can't punish you anymore. You're 20 now.
Right.
I said, but I will tell you to leave. And I don't want to do that. You need a place to stay. I want you to stay here. I said, but if you keep being disrespectful, my name is on the title of this house, and I will have to get you removed if you don't respectfully leave. And so I think having those clear conversations, right?
Yeah.
And they're tough. Like, you want to do this, and great, you do that in your house when you have your house. Now, are we trying to be like all strict, like, oh my God, you have to be in at midnight and you need to punch in the clock and
no.
I just don't want strangers in my house. I don't know. And I walk outside my bedroom. You don't know how, if I'm dressed, in my nightgowns and stuff, and someone's rolling up like, who you?
Right.
You're supposed to be here. Why are you?
Right.
Those things, I said, that's not respectful to us or for anyone you have in our home uninspectedly.
Right.
I said, we're not gun owners, but what if we were? And I just see some strange person walking in my house.
Not yet, but with the way this environment going.
So those are the things that we had to have very clear communication with our adult child to say, I can't punish you like I want to, but I don't want to hurt our relationship.
That's
where
true.
You can't stay here, and I have to take means where when you come up and the garage don't open, the key don't work to the front door.
Because I know how to quickly change a lock.
Because we have the ability to do that. And then you're calling me and texting me like, why can't I get in?
I can't get in. Right.
And so I think he kind of understand. He's like, okay, I understand your point, and apologizing and different things like that. But now we have to have more of those conversations with our adult children, like Caricia, our oldest, she had already made plans, booked her flight to come and see us in January.
To surprise us.
When normally we thought she was going to come during Christmas or anything, but because it was too expensive to keep her pets, she decided to have a dog and a cat while she lives away at college. And she would say it was too expensive, so I had to do it in January. Well, we ain't gonna be here. So what about that? And she's like, what do you mean you ain't gonna be there? Wait, oh, where are you going? I was like, hold on. First of all,
I'm grown.
I'm an adult.
I'm grown. Let's start there.
When you were small, I made sure you knew where you were going to be when I was gone.
Right.
Now that you're an adult, you're trying to come and see me. You need to communicate.
That's right.
I was just like, but you normally not. But yeah, but I have the freedom now to choose.
It's a new normal.
It's a new
normal.
I'm not tied here. I'm not tied to your schedule. I'm not tied to your debates. I'm not tied to your rehearsals. I'm not tied to taking you anywhere. I'm no longer tied to you.
Not in that way, baby girl. No.
And they find go ahead, David.
This is a very interesting discussion. So one of the books I read called Misfortune 101, it's about, accumulating wealth and all that other stuff. But there's a very, very poignant story told about the difference between the Rothschilds and the Vanderbilts. Do you know any millionaire Vanderbilts today? Okay, so back in the 1800s, they were one of the richest families in the world. The Rothschilds, by the way, basically run most of the banks in Europe,
right?
Okay.
Still to this day. But the difference between the two families was, whereas the Vanderbilts did not place any standards on accessing the family wealth, in 3 to 4 generations, it was gone.
Wow.
We got Gloria Vanderbilt, who was famous in the 80s, did that all on her own. That was not with family money.
Right.
Don't hear much about her brand anymore. Anderson Cooper, who is a Vanderbilt by blood, but he did that all on his own in media.
Wow.
But because they did not attach standards, and some of the basic standards were, you have access to this family wealth if you come with a plan for business, and B, probably one of the most important things was you have to in this family bank, there's the money portion of it, but then there's the standards portion of it. And you have to tell us some of the things you've done that have failed and why they failed. Because the rest of the family could learn from that stuff.
Wow.
So now you have Rothschilds now into probably the 7th and 8th generation who are still millionaires because they tied that one thing, like when you were saying with your son, hey, we have standards here and you can't violate the standards. You want access to this, I can't tell you what you do, but here is the standard if you want to stay here.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think when as we progress, and it's kind of dovetailing back to something Kevin said, if the standard is in this family, we all invest in a business and grow it to the point where we can now send out the next person who has learned from our mistakes as well as our successes to run a business, and keep doing that until we promote everybody in the family. That's the standard. It's not just the money, but it's the standards that go along with maintaining and growing and protecting it.
Yeah,
that's good.
I think with our adult children, that has to be a major part of the discussion, because money is like most everything else. It's a tool. One of the ways it's a tool is it's a magnifying glass. If you're a giving person, you're going to be more of a giver with money. If you are a jerk, you're going to be even jerkier with money.
Right.
It's a tool. It just magnifies what's there.
Right.
And we as parents don't pass along those standards along with whatever wealth we can pass along. Again, just look at the Vanderbilts.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
I think that's good. I
love this conversation. I will say this, and I have to confess, I haven't really read it. I did buy Dr. Gary Chapman's book. What's the title of it?
Rearing your adult
children.
It's something. Parenting your adult children.
Parenting your adult child, something like that. And I really want to get like into there, because you have to have these tough, real conversations. These crucial conversations, if it were, because these individuals, you love them so much. I mean, these are your babies, even though they're no longer babies.
Right.
Yes.
But you want them to be responsible, productive citizens. And the added layer for us is I always talk to them like, remember, you have to be salt and you have to be light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I know that this is where I am now at 56, and they're 30, almost 27, almost 23. I know the seeds that David and I sowed into these. I know how I prayed for you before I even knew who you were. I remember carrying you inside and praying. I know how we brought you up. I know that we lived, like all these things, because sometimes you start to see what, you start.
Right. Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right.
And I have to go back and say, Father, wait.
Yeah.
Your word said that's where the peace comes in.
Right.
God said, I need to train up a child
in the ways they should
go. The ways that they should go, and when they are old, they won't depart. And so I'm holding on to that, because there's sometimes you see things, you hear things, and you realize now this is us. The culture, the culture, they're still a part of this culture, and that mindset. I'm like, huh? That ain't Bible, that ain't Jesus, but that
right. We had when one of our kids was younger. I won't say which one, but one of our kids was younger, and we were doing flashcards with them. I think you were doing flashcards with them. And come on, what is this? I don't know. Come on, you know what it is. This child said, I don't know what the hell that is. Now, we don't curse. We didn't use that in that context or anything. But they were they were 4 or 5 at the time, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like, but again, it was like, that's not from us.
Right.
Yeah.
But just in the culture, what have you.
Absolutely, the culture. And so
think about it from this standpoint.
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things to do for anybody in our culture right now is to take accountability and be held accountable. And it's very prevalent. I mean, I've been in classroom situations where I'll just give you a little scenario. Bobby, why did you do that? Well, Mr. Berry, I wouldn't have done it if Sally hadn't have. Okay, we're not talking about Sally. We're talking about you. But where did that hesitancy to take accountability begin? I'm not saying it began here, but it's probably the most public expression of it. Remember when the whole mess with Enron happened?
Yeah.
So the chief of Enron said, hey, I only cooked the books because the guy Arthur Anderson said I should. The guy Arthur Anderson said, well, I only told him that because this other advisor told me it was the best thing to do. And that stuff has filtered down through our culture to our kids.
Yeah.
But now nobody wants to be held accountable for their actions.
Only God can judge me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But bro, it says in the law that you can't do that.
Right.
Right. And I think that's why it's important as their parents to say, I'm holding you to this, because we had to have a conversation of like, so where's your part of the rent? Because we were told
last night we had to have this conversation.
We were told our roommate was leaving out of town for a weekend. That is so wonderful. Thank you for communicating that.
Yes,
but at the same time,
you have this obligation right here.
This obligation that's normally supposed to come at a certain time within the first couple of days of the month.
Because I had to help interpret.
Right.
Because
I was like,
because they were like, yeah, I'm going so and so. Okay.
I was like, okay.
Oh.
He's looking confused. I'm like, no,
like,
let me help interpret.
Where's
habla inglés?
I was like,
¿Cómo está?
Where? And you know, but again, I'm keeping the standard. It's like, no, because if you're saying that your trip is now more important than you paying your portion of your responsibility at the house, when you leave, they'll kick you out. They'll grab your stuff, put it on a corner,
put it outside. Yes, they will.
Put it outside. Nowadays, they probably don't even give you a trash bag to put it in. They'll just pile it up and put it on the corner. And so and my husband's laughing. He was like, ah. I said, yeah, babe. I said, we have to keep it standard. I said, I'm not trying to tax him. I'm not trying to be brutal with it. I said, but we have to keep a standard because no one else is going to be as kind that we are being now.
And still teaching, training, and coaching.
And saying, hey, when are we going to get it? When are you going to provide it? We need it. Not because I need his money, but because it's important that he keeps it. Right. And I know we're going a little bit over. I just want to give us each to give like our 4 points of having adult children in our lives, and we'll close out this segment. I think we'll go first. I think the 4 things that any parent that now has adult children is that, first of all, I would say the biggest thing is to remember that now you're coaching and you're not demanding of your adult children, that if they have the opportunity to make the decision, allow them to make the decision, or them to give you, hey, what are your options? What are your choices? And then what do you think is best for those options? I think number 2, I'll say, is you still have to over communicate. When they were children, they did what you say. And we didn't have a lot of time for questions. And, like, I don't got time to be answering you. I just need you to do what I say because it needs to get done.
Right.
And even that has changed a little bit. When they question, we try to answer more so they have an understanding. But I think as adult children, we need to over communicate with them. Like, look, we all got to pitch in on this. It's important because we need to get this done if we're going to live here together. Like you said, when things come up, I'm like, my pride's out of the thing. Like, no, this has to be taken care of so that we're all in a good situation. So I think communicating with your children, because now they're old enough to handle it, communicating when you're upset, communicating when you're being disrespected and they're not heeding to the rules of the house. Where before we would take that in and then all of a sudden we're blowing up on our kids when we could have been really addressing it a lot sooner.
I would say the other thing is to stay connected. The challenge sometimes is where you're grown, you don't need me anymore from the parent perspective, but recognize that really, even though they may not say it or acknowledge it, they still need you, right? And so that goes along with what she said as far as coaching. I know we sometimes will ask questions more than we'll give answers.
That's important.
And in doing so, it helps them to discover the answers that are going to work best. And yes, we can ask questions that kind of guide them to what we think is the best choice or decision, but ultimately it's going to be their decision. But if we can help coach, guide, and help navigate to arrive at those things, we're still parenting. It's no longer do as I say because I'm going to take this away. It's more so now, use my experience, use my life, use what I have figured out about the world. We had one child that was planning on getting a tattoo on their neck or something like that. And we were like, with what you have in your future,
if you're deciding you want to do this type of job,
that's not the move.
That's not the spot.
I can't tell you can't do it because you can legally go to the tattoo parlor.
Absolutely.
You put your money down and they'll do it. But our advice, my counsel,
to you is,
you might want to consider someplace else. I don't have a problem with the tattoo. Got my own. You good. It's just the placement of where is that going to be helpful for you?
I just completely agree with what the both of you have said. I think that parenting is such a short time.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that. Now the Lord has allowed our offspring to become adults. And I think now we're guiding and we're coaching. I agree with you there. I love what you said, Kevin, about asking more questions.
Mm-hmm.
I love what Tarsha said about over communicating, because we have found that that's been sometimes it's like miscommunication, because there were some assumptions being made instead of things being said explicitly. So we have to over communicate. We have to communicate often, frequently. And if things change, like, it's just so important. I think that we have to just be patient and loving.
That's true.
And yeah, it's very challenging. But I think something that Tarsha just said too, I think it's okay to be humble, to humble yourself. And I think to kind of show, for me, like, more humanness. Like,
yeah, you're not the super.
I am your mother. I will always be your mother, but I'm Miriam. I'm a person, and this is how like, and I need this is what I need. That just get into those level, because now you're an adult. Now I'm talking to you as an adult. I am grateful that we haven't had to deal necessarily with disrespect in that regard, except you might just be making assumptions that you can just take my car, like you're going somewhere. Well, did you ask me what I needed to do? That sort of thing. But it's kind of like, I'm grateful. Our offspring, they kind of like know the standard, and they do respect. You know what I'm saying? They do respect that. They do. I don't know what my husband would like to say, but that's what I have to say. This has been a wonderful conversation. I can't wait for the next one.
So I would like to say what you all have shared. I'll kind of encapsulate and it supports what I think. At this stage of parenting, we move to influence, inspire, and inquire.
Nice. That's good.
We influence. We work as influencers. And all that comes along with it. The communication is embedded in that in terms of how we influence. We inspire. I think for me, when I use that term in terms of parenting our kids, is the inspiration has to come from me still pursuing the best version of me. I can't ask you to do that, and I'm not doing it.
Amen. That's so good.
And that keeps me in a way accountable.
That's so good.
To my kids, because
That's
I think sometimes I ran into this as an educator, what I call adultism, meaning do as I do. I mean, do as I say. I'm not going to tell you the why, just get it done.
Yeah.
But when you're working with other adults, that does not work. So the ability to inspire really comes from saying, hey, here's where I am, here's where I want to grow. I want to see you grow as well. Come alongside me and watch me as I do this.
I love it.
And then you have to inquire. You have to ask what you have to, and this is difficult in terms of parenting because it's now a new season. You have to get good at asking questions.
Yes.
Because if I say it, I've sold it to you. If you say it, you own it.
That's it.
That's it.
You say it, you own it.
When you give an individual an opportunity to actually say out loud what they're thinking, sometimes you're like, that does sound a little crazy.
Yeah.
You got to rethink that. So influence, inspire, and inquire.
That's good. Excellent. I love it.
Well, listen, we're gonna wrap up for this evening. We know our East Coast and Central, it's getting close to bedtime. Here on the West Coast, we still trying to figure stuff out and try and come in from the heat out here.
Well, listen, it's we're about 3 days away from Bears Packers, so I'm not getting any sleep.
Go Bears. Mr. Football here, it's football season. Whatever.
Well, I tell folks that during the football season, there are only 49 states because we don't count Wisconsin. And during basketball season, there's only 49 states because we don't count Detroit, Michigan.
Listen, guys, please let us know when you would want us to come back. Man, we love talking to you guys. These are some great, rich topics, and we count it a privilege that you all would consider us as people you want to discuss these really heavy things with. So thank you.
No, thank you.
And to our audience, we appreciate those of you that are stuck in, and those of you that are watching all the way through, and that you all will watch this on the replay. Definitely make sure you stay connected. Make sure you hit that subscribe, hit the like, request notifications, share all those fun things, because we are doing more of these conversations. We are still going to do some of the other things that we do as far as the shows, but we want to help you as your relationship coaches, your YouTube relationship coaches, help you navigate your relationship. Sometimes it's your relationship with your significant other, your spouse, what have you, but also your relationship with your family and your kids, because those are as well. All right.
All right.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it. We'll see y'all next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.
Peace. Love you all. God bless. Bye-bye. Have a good night. Bye-bye.